So obviously there are all sorts of wonderful wonderful events that take place across the country and in London over Christmas, and we've highlighted 12 of our favourites, 12 of our clients' favourites, but there are all sorts of opportunities to combine. And something we thought that would be really useful, just as a starting point, is to put it into perspective of where some of these locations are and how spread out they are. I mean, obviously, dear old England is tiny relative to the US, but excuse me, as you know, we try and minimise travel time and so on. So there are great ways of managing the itineraries. Oxford, Le Manoir, and Blenheim are obviously very close to each other. Equally, Kew and Hampton Court when you're further east towards London. So just to give you a bit of a feel for where some of the events are, and hopefully that will help in some planning. So our 12 days of Christmas. The first day is Hampton Court, because Hampton Court is one of my favourites anyway. But as you can see, it's one of the few places, a few stately homes with an ice rink. There are 2 or 3 in London at Somerset House and so on. But it's absolutely magical. Your clients can do a private tour in the morning, have a delicious breakfast, a wonderful tour of the grounds, get lost in the maze, and do the ice skating. So oh, and the carriage ride, which is just so Christmassy and so festive. Hampton Court do it really well, and they really retain the whole feeling of its medieval origins as much as they can. And it was the home of the original Royal Game shoot. So something that would be really lovely to combine with Hampton Court and its links to Henry VIII and his love of hunting and shooting and so on, would be to link up with a game shoot in the area. So we can certainly make that happen, as you know from our chats with Morris. But to really get into that feeling of the English traditions, that could work really quite nicely. And then we couldn't talk about Christmas without including Blenheim, because the light show at Blenheim is extraordinary. But there's a real contrast between Blenheim and Hampton Court, because Blenheim really focuses on everything on the outside, whereas there's a lot more focus at Hampton Court on the interior. The light trail that they did last year. Last year they had an Alice in Wonderland theme, so they do a different theme every year. I don't know what this year is going to be yet, and they're probably still in the planning stages. But they had something like 100,000 light bulbs in the light trail last year, which was just glorious, absolutely wonderful. And they really sort of follow the theme throughout the palace, both outside and in. We can do all of the fabulous things that we normally do at Blenheim, that we included in the piece, the training event that we did. So dependent on the Duke's residence plans and so on, your clients can stay over, they can have private dinners and all of those fabulous things. But these are just some of the pictures. You can see how the lake is illuminated. There is just light everywhere you look to make the most of all the trees and the follies and everything. And here's just a little bit of what your clients will experience. This was last year, so it obviously is different every year, but they don't do anything by halves at Blenheim, that's for sure. It's just extraordinary. So you can imagine how utterly festive you feel standing watching that. And although Le Manoir is quite close, another lovely option is to stay in the lovely little market town of Woodstock. It's very festive and it really is just lovely. And the wonderful thing, you can obviously sort of walk to and from Blenheim, so it's very special. But if your clients want to combine a bit of singing, some champagne, and the most delicious food on the planet, then Le Manoir really comes into its own. If you've been there, you'll know it's set in the most beautiful grounds, and they really do go to town at Christmas. And these evening events that they do, they're sung by a choir from Oxford. And you're greeted, your clients will be greeted with a glass of champagne, and they can, excuse me, and get into the festive spirit. And then just the short walk, which is just beautiful. So it's all, they walk through a sort of tunnel of light to get to the beautiful church in the village of Great Milton, where the hotel is situated. And I don't think there's anything more festive than singing along to some good old Christmas carols. And then they go back to the hotel for the most amazing dining experience. So it really is just wonderful. So they could do a Blenheim during the day, although obviously the light displays are best done in the evenings. But a couple of nights at the Manoir, they could do Blenheim one evening and the carols another night, because they are very close. But it's one of our favourites. Now heading eastwards, Kew is quite extraordinary. I mean, it's amazing throughout the year, and certainly, I mean, we love our experiences to be edifying, and there is no doubt that a visit to Kew is edifying at any time of year. But at Christmas, they really make the most of all of the trees and the plants and all of the different themes throughout Kew Gardens. So it's a little bit of magic almost at every turn. But these people who create these light displays are just so incredibly talented. And again, with Kew, they do it in such a way that it retains the magic of the gardens. Now, Kew is very close to Hampton Court, so if your clients are staying in London, it's easy, just a quick sort of half an hour to get out to Kew, or they could stay nearer the river in Richmond or in Hampton itself. So there are all sorts of different options, but it is on, both of them are on the west side of London, so easy access if they're staying down at Heckfield or at Cliveden or Carroth Park and so on. So very easy access from to and from London. Now, a bit of a daytime excursion into the beauty of Oxford. Again, we spent quite a bit of time talking with you about all the different options in Oxford, but the Christmas market is just lovely, and they have all these lovely little chalet type huts that they can your clients can do some last minute Christmas shopping if they choose. And also Christchurch and Merton colleges have just fabulous carol concerts and carol services and so on. So we can plan a lovely trip to Oxford all around the carol concert. There's not so much river cruising, no great surprise at that time of year, but certainly a treasure hunt and walking tour and so on is just lovely, because they do a fabulous job in Oxford. Now we're revisiting Stonor Park. Now you met with William last week, I think it was, a couple of weeks ago. So you've heard all about his beautiful home. And at Christmas, they really go to town. It is professionally dressed, and they retain this beautiful family feel, because William and his young family obviously live there. And again, they have a theme every year. And there's the lovely thing about Stonor is the real personal touch. I think a bit like we were talking about Chavenage on Wednesday, you can go from the grandeur of Hampton Court and Blenheim and so on, to the smaller manor houses, but this fabulous family feel at Stonor. And as we said, we can arrange a wonderful dinner, a really special family dinner in Stonor. So your guests, or your clients, will have a gorgeous guided tour with William, who will share all of the wonderful anecdotes and the American family connections and all those things that he's so proud of. And then they can go into the private dining room, into the blue dining room, and have a really special dinner. If your clients want something a bit different from a restaurant, there's fabulous restaurants as we focused on too, but for a really special family occasion or a group of friends who want something really intimate and special, it's just wonderful. And they'll have their own butler and their own chef for the evening. We had a harpist last year at one of the ones that we arranged. So actually the harpist who played at Prince William and Kate's wedding. So she's rather good, not to put it mildly. So lots of great opportunities at Stonor. And that is perfectly doable from Cliveden or the Langley, Cowes Park and so on. It's about half an hour from Cliveden, but it's only an hour from London. So again, if your clients are staying there, and they really do go to town, as you can see, it's beautiful and very family orientated. And this is the huge tree, absolutely huge tree, that takes some decorating. I think mine takes long enough, but Lord knows how long they spend doing this. But it's just lovely. There's a picture of William's father, that photograph there, and the obligatory Christmas stockings, obviously, which are just lovely. Whoops. Now, just down the road from Stonor, and where I'm sitting at the moment, is Henley-on-Thames. Now, this is just an example of what we can do in a market town. There's Winchester and Salisbury, Tetbury and Broadway, and all of those beautiful towns across the Chilterns and the Cotswolds. But just to give you an example of what we can create. And this picture is taken of, it's Henley Town Square on the Christmas festival night, where they close all of the roads and they decorate it and the Christmas lights go on, and lots of stalls and family entertainment. And that was taken from on top of the town hall. It's a really magical evening. Quite hard to imagine at the moment, but it is really quite magical. So just as an example, there are just some really lovely little independent local shops. So your clients could have a little guided tour, either with somebody, or we'll just give them directions. It's quite difficult to get lost in Henley. It's not very big, as is Winchester and so on. But you can have everything from Asquith's, which is apparently the most famous teddy bear shop in the world. They have some really amazingly rare teddy bears. It's an absolute treasure trove, particularly if for a family group. It's absolutely glorious. Through to a milliner of international fame. She is Liz Felix is very well recognized, and produces and designs these incredible hats for the stars. So she'd be happy to chat to you. Through to Jonkers, that has one of the best collections of rare books in the country. So there are all sorts of lovely little antique shops and so on to visit, and your clients will be introduced to the owners of the shop and given some good old VIP service with a goodie bag. a fabulous lunch either on the river or in one of our beautiful pubs. And obviously, being British, we have to have the good old afternoon tea, probably at Phyllis Court, which is a rather lovely private members club. So just a very simple day, but just to see, I mean, it's wonderful how all the Christmas traditions vary from country to country. But so just to see how we do it over here, and it's very simple and a very lovely day. Now, if you've got a group, again, either a family group or a group of friends who would love to spend a day together, but they don't want to be ferried around from pillar to post and so on. They want to make the most of the time together. This is something that, again, we can create. This particular picture is Cheynes Manor, which is just sort of an hour northwest of London. But we can do this across the country in some really beautiful stately homes, and just create a really wonderful, magical, aristocratic day in the countryside. So include everything from clay shooting and falconry and archery, Segway riding. There's and I mean, a couple of them like Hampton Court and Cheynes do have the most amazing maze that the little ones can get lost in. Obviously, we will have a chef on hand to produce the lunch of their choice, and then they can either join in the making of the afternoon tea, or they'll just be served the afternoon tea by a roaring log fire when they've enjoyed all of their activities. And it's a lovely feeling of space. You've got all sorts of different options of things to do. And we love creating these days because family groups just really do get stuck in, and it can get quite competitive as well, which is always a bit of fun. And if they have enjoyed a day in the country, then what better than to really get into a magical Christmas wonderland of the Nutcracker at the Royal Albert Hall. I'm very lucky, I've seen a few productions of the Nutcracker, and they are all wonderful when the soldiers and the doll come to life, but I don't think anyone does it quite like the Albert Hall does. It's they create the most magical atmosphere. So there is the performance. They do both matinees and evenings, and we can incorporate a lovely lunch and or dinner, a private tour behind the scenes of the Royal Albert Hall, and take them behind the scenes so that they can meet some of the performers as well. So there are all sorts of different variations that we can do at the Albert Hall, but it's if you've got clients in London over Christmas, I think it's one of those things that you've got to tick off your list, really. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but it really is absolutely wonderful. And again, we are not going to make any recommendations here for any horses to bet on, but the jump season is well and truly at its fore in December. And ASCOT put on this a really stunning day for the jump season. So there's fabulous food. It's a really family friendly day. There's Father Christmas and the face painting and all sorts of lovely displays going on, in addition to obviously the fine dining and the horse racing. So it's a lovely really lovely family day, or a couple. And Ascot is obviously hotels, Cowes Park, Cliveden, the Langley and so on are all within 20 minutes of well, I mean, Cowes Park is just down the road, so all very close, but also easily accessible from London, just sort of 45 minutes or so from London, so nice and easy to get to, and or equally very accessible from Bath as well. So if they're on their way down to Bath, they could stop and have a day at the races at Ascot. And again, we've shared some of the magic of Bath, and we can do all of the fabulous fabulous things that we've talked about. And we probably recommend a bit of a wander around the market mid-late afternoon, because it's particularly beautiful just as the light is fading and all the lights really start to shine. And the Abbey and the Abbey Square is where a lot of the market stalls are. The Abbey put on these fabulous, just really short carol services, sorry. So they can go in and have a good old sing song, and then go and warm up in a thermal bath or similar. But Bath do Christmas very, very well. It's just beautiful. Um, Probably not to be recommended from London. Suggest probably staying a little bit closer to home, or closer to Bath, whether that's in Bath itself at the Gainsborough Bath Spa or the Bath Priory or so on, or a little bit further north into the Cotswolds. But it's pretty lovely. Is Bath, and the as you could see, these are just some of the pictures of it all. And these beautiful little chalets, and there's the Abbey with the Christmas tree. You just couldn't, you have to feel Christmassy surrounded by all of that. And Lisa's smiling massively, she's loving all of this. Now Waddesdon again is sort of northwest of London, just about an hour or so away, easily accessible from Oxford. So if your clients are staying in the old bank or the old parsonage, or a little bit further out at Le Manoir, it's very easy to get to. And Waddesdon and Blenheim probably, I'm sure they wouldn't claim to compete, but I think they probably do in terms of light displays. They both have the most amazing Christmas markets. It's a very different style of building. I mean, Waddesdon is a sort of French Renaissance style of architecture, and obviously a smaller scale than Blenheim. But my golly, they do Christmas very, very well indeed. And there are all sorts of wonderful experiences which we will share with you when we do our focus on Waddesdon. But Christmas there is just lovely, really is very very special. And these lights, this was from last year. I mean, these lights are just amazing. It's very chateau like, the style at Waddesdon. Just utterly magical. And this is it during the day, but you can see these amazing globes of light and so on that they create. So that is those are our favorites and some of our client favorites to enjoy over the festive season. As I said, we will build the itinerary, whether it's around mulled wine tasting, or including a game shoot, including some of the other, and it's in the middle of the hunting season as well, the hunting on horseback. So we can pull all of their favourite things together, whether they're based in London, or happy to spend a bit of time out in the countryside. I mean, Cliveden and Coworth, the Langley and so on, put on these really special sort of 2-day, 48-hour normally Christmas specials, as I'm sure you know. So if they want to get out there and experience some of them, then that's the place to go. So it looks like we've got some questions. Sorry, I have to put the snow. Many people, like Lisa, do snow dances, hoping that there's going to be snow over Christmas, and sometimes we do. It's certainly one of the coldest months of the year, and we do have snow. It's not guaranteed, obviously. Nothing about the English weather is ever guaranteed, but it does always look very festive. And even when it on a really frosty, sunny morning. It's absolutely beautiful. Um, Tickets for the Nutcracker, it depends obviously on where your clients will sit, but they start at around 130, 140 pounds per person. I will check that for you, Jackie, and come back to you. And what we will send to you after this is a more detailed version of what you've just seen, with more of the description in it, and and all of the prices as well. So at least, I mean, a day in Bath. It can cost different things depending on what they choose to include, but it'll give you a guideline for the prices as well. Are there any other questions that we can help with? Are you feeling festive? It's quite funny. No, I think that's it. Very festive. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are going to be doing a focus on WADDESDON, and I'm delighted to say that now our June calendar of tea and training events is we have launched it, so you can see all of the different things that we're going to be including, everything from things you can do on the river through to WADDESDON, and obviously at this time of year talking about some of the magical gardens and so on that are available to visit. So we've got a whole fabulous calendar of events coming up in June, so we can carry on planning for when the clients start to plan again. And thank you, Lisa. She's put the link to the website, but we will send you an email so that you've got a copy of the full plan. So I'm now going to go back out into the sunshine, which is nice and warm. I hope it is. I hope it is with you too. And thank you so much for joining us today. And I wish you a wonderful weekend. And we look forward to seeing you on Monday. Thanks so much. Have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.
Yes.